Great to meet everybody. Thank you so much for joining me today. Maybe I'll give a quick introduction of myself, and then we can go around the room. My name is Andrew Macdonald. I'm with Uber. I run our global mobility business. I'm actually based here in Toronto, or I'm based in Toronto. I know some of you are in Toronto, some of you are around Canada. So I'm based in Toronto. Started out running our Canadian business almost 9 years ago, and in May it'll be 9 years for me at the company. So I was one of the first employees here in Toronto, launched the business here, and then I've moved through a bunch of different roles with the company, and now in a global role. As I said, my wife and I live here in Toronto. We've got a 7-month-year-old daughter who we had in the midst of this pandemic we're all dealing with. So that was an interesting experience. And I'm just really happy to be talking to this group here myself and not outside shoveling snow. And looking forward to hearing your thoughts on Uber, on how we can do better, sharing some ideas on where we want to go in Canada as it relates to how we support drivers, and just catch up on overall on how things have been going. So that's me. It would be great to go around and do introductions. I can call folks out since sometimes it's hard to see on Zoom. So, apologies in advance if I mispronounce any names, but maybe I'll start from the top of my screen. Binyam, do you wanna give an introduction?
Sure. My name is Binyam. I live in Calgary, Alberta, Canada, and I've been driving for Uber for 1.5 years. Really enjoying my experience. I'm a dad to 3 young kids, 9, 7, and 6, and yeah, it's a lot of fun. They're a blast. Yeah, so that's a little bit about me. Anything else you want to know?
No, that's perfect. Thank you. Lori?
Hi there, I'm Lori Pringle. I actually live in Hamilton, Ontario. I have been driving for Uber since 2016, I think, which is about the time I moved to Hamilton. I work as the Director of Communications for a charity that helps seniors, that was founded by the Jewish community, but supports seniors from throughout the Hamilton region. I am the proud parent of a 10-month-old Bichon who's exhausting me, and a 2-year-old rescue cat.
So if we see the cat creep, Dara, our CEO,
the cat, and I may have to scoot away to keep the puppy from eating the cat because he gets a little rambunctious with her.
I also see a cat on Tyler's screen there, so I suspect we've got a few cats on this call. Is it Guler or?
Yes, you can call me G. It's easier. I'm a tour guide in Vancouver and BC, Alberta. I have been driving Uber since it started. Actually, I'm one of the first day drivers in Vancouver. It was so joyful to see everyone was cheering up. Finally, Uber is in Vancouver. Yeah, so it's me.
Great. Well, thank you. Vancouver was one of the last and largest cities in North America to launch Uber. As you know, I always used to get pings from friends. I can't believe you're not in Vancouver yet. When are you coming to Vancouver? And it took us a long time, but we're glad to be there.
Yeah, everyone in Vancouver is so happy. Like the riders, they keep saying to me, "Oh, this is so beautiful." Yeah.
Awesome. Laurel?
Hi, I'm Laurel Chase. Excuse me. Based in Montreal. Excuse me. I've been an Uber driver for 2.5 years. I can understand G when she says that a lot of her Vancouver clients are happy to have Uber because being a Montreal-based driver, we get a lot of tourists. And during the better days, pre-COVID, I had a lot of rides from Vancouver, and that was their biggest concern. Why not Vancouver, et cetera, et cetera. I do have one comment prior to going into anything further. When I visited Vancouver June of 2020, and I noticed that the Uber drivers had a little dome light on the inside of their vehicles. And I'm wondering what happened to us over here in Montreal. So that's probably something that you guys can look into, because for the night rides, when things get up and functioning once again, during the night, those little dome lights are very noticeable. So
Yeah.
you're easily identifiable. So I'll go
Yeah,
back.
we've
Yes,
done.
go ahead.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No,
Sorry.
no, it's okay. I was just going to say I've been driving Uber for 2.5 years, and previously insurance broker, damage insurance broker. After 23 plus years, I decided to make a change, and I didn't know how to get out of where I was. So someone suggested that I do Uber, and I first thought, like, really? I can't see me doing that. But I tried it while working. I did it part-time in the beginning for about 8 months. Then I realized, wait a minute, I can do this. So then I said goodbye to my career. They thought I was crazy, but I took a leap of faith, and I have no regrets because it's also led me into a new journey. I'm presently pursuing a real estate broker. So I'm doing some courses because now, as you know, COVID's here, our city's on shutdown. We have curfews at 8 o'clock. So Montreal, the business is not as good as it used to be, but we do what we can with what's happening right now because everybody else is feeling the pinch, so to speak. And that's where I am right now. And that's how I became a part of Uber. And what I like about Uber also, I've lived in Montreal, it's over 40 years. I came here from Trinidad and Tobago as a child, and I've lived here over 40 years. And I thought I knew my city. Once I started doing Uber, I realized, there are so many little beautiful gems hidden away within the city. So I love it because I get to see my city from a whole new eye. I fell in love with the city all over again. And then I get to see it from the eyes of our tourists, and they bring so many different little nuggets to your attention that you just overlook because you're just here all the time, right? As a local. So
Yep.
yeah, I really am enjoying the experience pre-COVID, and hopefully once we get back to the new norm, we'll get back to where we were. And that's it. Thank you.
Well, thanks so much. Great story. And we'll work on the dome lights. I don't know if we have those for all drivers in Vancouver, or I know we have them in some cities. I think there's a few places it's actually required by regulations, but yeah, I think those have been popular. Dave?
Hi, everybody. My name is Dave. From Vancouver, BC. I've been driving Uber since it started last year in January. Stopped driving in mid-March for a couple months because of COVID. Love driving Uber. I think it's the best. A lot of customer in Vancouver loves, Uber. It's in finally, as everyone don't like the cab company or whatever. But yeah, basically, yeah, that's what I like about Uber too.
Well, great, Dave. Thank you. Pete?
Hey guys, my name's Pete. I've been with Uber since 2015. Enjoy doing Uber. I also do Uber Eats as well. Yeah, it's been amazing. I have 2 girls, I'm single dad, so Uber is just the most amazing side hustle out right now. And it's that flexibility that really got me into Uber in the first place. And yeah, it keeps growing. People love it. I'm also a life coach on the side. So I help people through their stuff, whatever's going on with them. It's amazing. A lot of my clients now are customers in Uber. So that's really a pretty fantastic combination there too as well.
I can imagine you have a chance on some rides to do some life coaching too.
Yeah, I did one last night with a dentist. He's just taking a quick trip to Montreal, and he was briefly talking about, a lot of people, they come to the dentist, but they bring their stuff with them, and so he takes on a lot of this negativity. So I gave him some pointers and some suggestions, some strategies to help de-stress and not take it home with him, to his family. So it's been good. It's been really good.
And Pete, are you in Montreal, or are you in Toronto? Or?
Oh yeah, I'm right here in Toronto. Like I'm just east of Toronto in Whitby. Had to dig up as well. Had to kind of shovel out myself on Monday and Wednesday too. So yeah, hopefully we can get out this deep freeze and get into some nicer weather.
Yeah, I was on the phone with a colleague from Austin, Texas this morning. I'm not sure how many of you have seen the news there, but the deep freeze they're going through in Texas and the snow, and
Yeah.
you know, we're all, I think, generally accustomed to that living where we live.
Yeah, for sure.
And but there it's, you know, he's been without power, without water, hard to get food. It's been a crazy week. So
That's incredible. That's incredible.
Tyler, I think you're last on my row board here.
Hi everyone, I'm Tyler. I'm 25, so I don't have kids yet. Maybe one day. The only kid I have is the 16-year-old cat beside me. The older he gets, I think he's suffering from Benjamin Button syndrome. So it seems like the older he gets, the more rambunctious he becomes. It's hard to understand why, but he's turning 16 in a few days. I've been doing Uber. Contrary to I think most of you, I've been doing exclusively Uber Eats. I do not do the Uber driver with passengers. I've been doing it since May of 2020. The reason why I started doing Uber Eats is because ever since I've been working in the food industry for my whole life, so for the past 10 years. So I've always worked with clients in the food industry. I'm a bartender at the Montreal Casino. I've been a waiter. I've been all sorts of things. And in Montreal, like Laurel said, the city's on shutdown. In the spring, everything was shut down. So the food industry has been grinded to a complete halt. So I thought, why not do something that I'm used to doing by serving food indirectly? So that's how I've gotten into Uber in May 2020, and I've done 2,800 trips so far.
Wow. And I'm curious, what's the most common restaurant or type of food you're delivering in Montreal right now?
I actually live I live on the south shore of Montreal. If Laura knows what Longueuil Brossard is. So when I started Uber, I did Montreal, the island of Montreal. I thought it would be better there because there's more restaurants, more people. But when I started in May, since people were still very fearful of COVID, people weren't going out as much. But ever since August, now without going into a political course, our current mayor in Montreal has now decided to turn two ways into one-way streets. And delivering with Uber in Montreal's famous cone season, as I call it, in the summertime. I've decided to now do exclusively Uber on the south shore of Montreal. I noticed that the type of food is very different from the island of Montreal. It's a lot more McDonald's, A&W, fast food. And what I've noticed about working on the South Shore, maybe for other people in the different cities, it's the same. A certain very specific area of the South Shore, for example, will have one type of food that's more popular, but in other regions of the South Shore, it's other types of food. So depending on the day, could be mostly fast food for lunchtime, but for dinner time, it can be a bit more varied.
Very, very interesting. I know Laurel said she learned the city differently, and I think that's true. If you're doing food delivery too, you learn what habits, what restaurants are popular. I'm sure repeat customers, all sorts of stuff.
Yeah,
that's. So I'm curious. I mean, we're all sort of adjusting to the pandemic and changed work, family life, social life, everything. Have many of you switched from driving to delivering during the pandemic? We've seen that a lot sort of broadly across the platform, but I'm curious, for those of you that were starting out as driving, have many of you switched to do delivering or to do both?
Personally, myself, if you don't mind me speaking, personally myself, I've always driven. I've done deliveries. As you can see, I've done deliveries, but For deliveries, I kind of pulled back from deliveries because of the simple fact, in Montreal, we're bombarded with drivers, etc. So, you know, I look at it from a scope as, okay, I noticed that some of the deliveries in regards to the requirements for the drivers and the requirements for deliveries are different. So because I know that I still have the opportunity to be a driver based on the criteria, I pulled back to allow room for those who do not have that, option, so to speak. And for me, when I did deliveries, everyone's different. But my take on it is when I arrive at a restaurant to pick up an item, sometimes the way, the entry, the welcoming, it does not always make you feel as comfortable, so to speak, in so many words. And I'm not one to, I'm very neutral and I don't like conflicts. So I try to step away from conflicts. And I know, I fully understand that in the industry, in the restaurant industry, it gets very hectic.
Yep.
And when you have 3 or 4 different people arriving at the same time to pick up meals, people get flustered. That I understand. And sometimes it's a younger generation that's at the counter taking the orders, etc. So for me to avoid any conflicts and to just keep a peace of mind, I find I stuck to driving. And it works with my schedule. It gives me that flexibility, even though I'm not doing the hours I used to, based upon where my life is at this moment, it works. So for me, and then in the colder months, deliveries, I kind of step back because you got to get in and out of the vehicle. You got to look for park. That's another chaotic thing in our city. So when if I do decide to do deliveries in regards to eating, I do it off island because I don't have to be concerned about parking. Because once you're double parked in the city, you're susceptible to get a ticket. And they're not lenient about it either. Because to me, it's like they're there to give out tickets and that's what they're doing. They don't care if you have an Uber, whatever the case may be. If they see that it becomes too clustered, right away they start giving tickets. So I kind of veer away from that. During the pandemic time, it's easier to do deliveries because the fact there's less vehicles on the road. But when you go into the normal scene of it all, it's a little bit harder. So I kind of veer more into the driving. And I'm a people person, so I like meeting people, having conversations, et cetera, And once again, I say I leave the deliveries for those who are not as fortunate to be able to be drivers. So that's the way I look at it. That's right.
I would like to add something. I agree with what Laurel says. When I started in May 2020, the roads were quieter. So that's why I started doing the deliveries in Montreal, because I said there's more. I read an article a few weeks ago that Montreal has the most restaurants per 1,000 people in all of North America, the island.
Wow.
So when I started, I was like, hey, I'll do it in maybe Laura Boulevard Maisonneuve, the Plateau, stuff. There's restaurants everywhere. When I started doing it, but once, maybe mid-July, like people started coming back to normal and the cold season started. The Uber navigation app, I find is not updated regularly. So let's say I'll take a perfect example. Laura will know what I mean. Guy Street was a 2-way street. Now it's a 1-way street. But the Uber GPS app does not know that. So
I'm going to take a note and try to get that fixed as soon as possible.
So the more the time went on, I was doing only deliveries in Montreal, and it took me forever trying to get to the restaurant and or to the client because it says take Guy, and doesn't know that that's not a valid option. The other thing I would agree with Laurel is being bombarded by drivers. Starting in mid-July, also, I've noticed that since now the requirements are not that high, a lot of people became drivers. So when I started in May, I would start on downtown Montreal, the Maisonneuve, to give an example. Within 45 seconds, I would get an order. Now, if I go in Montreal tonight, it's the busiest night of the week, but since that there are so many drivers and Montreal has become so bike friendly that I've talked to other Uber drivers, and the Uber app, I think, prioritizes bikes. So for a car driver on the island on a Friday night in the middle of downtown, you can wait 30, 35, 40 minutes for an order because you have to be right next to the restaurant to accept the order. That's why I do it off island, because on the island, it's really meant for bikes and Uber people who walk, not for cars anymore.
Got it. So I'm curious, for those of you who've continued to drive through the pandemic, how's it been? How are you finding people? Has the nature of passengers changed? I know we have a lot of essential workers that are using the service to get to their job, for instance. And by the way, I wanted to take a moment to thank all of you for your role in keeping the community moving, keeping people eating, providing what they need. I think the essential work you're doing has been critical, and this is a really challenging time for everybody. So first off, thank you. And second, I am curious, for those who've been driving, what are you seeing on the roads? How's it been?
Can I also add back to what Tyler said? Vancouver, the street, same thing. I think the Uber map should update some of the downtown street cannot turn left anymore. And also always the Uber app said turn left. It's like you can't turn left there, but it's been, need to update as well in Vancouver.
Okay. And if I could add to sort of carry on from that, in Hamilton, because we have the mountain and then sort of the bowl, I don't know why they call it a mountain, the big hill, there are a number of passes that you have to go up. And I work predominantly from between 4:30 a.m. and 8 a.m. And then I go to my real job. I call it my real job, my full-time job at 9. And some of those passes have weird little rules, like from 6:45 a.m. to 9:30 a.m. you can't go up the hill because they changed, kind of like Jarvis Street in Toronto, where they changed that middle lane. So it's kind of a similar thing there. And the app never knows that. And then my other pet peeve with the app and sort of navigation is around destinations. That thing is forever trying to send me down the 407 when I do not have a passenger in the car. So if I'm in Toronto, I'm trying to get back to Hamilton, it consistently tries to route me through the 407, which is about a $30 ride home. And chances of getting a ride are sort of slim, depending on time of day. So obviously I'm not going to take that. So that's a bit of a pet peeve. But back to your question around the passengers and what's changed. I have been driving the whole time. Now I found a great place in Mississauga that put in one of those plexiglass screens in my car. My spouse also drives. Now he drives during the daytime. So for me, it's slowed down. Certainly during lockdown, it slowed down a lot. So there was a big income loss there. But interestingly, in Toronto, so my spouse just moved in with me in Hamilton in May of last year, and I was living with him for about 6 months before that in Toronto. In Toronto, I actually found that I made more money, not during the lockdown, but right after the lockdown. I think there were probably fewer drivers on the road. And then I think also just a lot of people were comfortable taking the vehicle. But in lockdown times right now, it is brutally slow. And that's especially outside because people still go to work, and I'm predominantly picking up people who are going to and from work during those hours. It's been less, but not unmanageably less. But for him, it went from, a sort of moderately helpful income to nothing almost. And he can go out there and be out there all day. Fortunately, he likes to read, so he just takes a book and sits there. But and after a while, it's certainly been a little bit of a challenge financially. And then back to your Uber Eats question, we're older people, as you can probably tell. We're not in our 20s. and he's not particularly great with new technologies. So I was trying to encourage him to try Uber Eats, and we've had a terrible time trying to find really good tutorial videos for, he uses Android and he refuses to change. So really up to date, like there's a lot of them out there, but some of them are from 2017, and the app changes so much that it's difficult. And so he did try it out, and he had a bit of a disaster, and I'm not sure whether it was a user error or if it was some, you know, every once in a while there are bugs and things that can cause things to go awry. And of course his first try with it was not very successful, and now he's afraid to try it again. So I think if we could do something to provide more up-to-date tutorials for both the Uber driver and Uber Eats driver end of things, that would be helpful.
Yeah, that's really good feedback. Thank you. Others,
also, since the COVID Vancouver, also the pickup is down 40%, and sometimes you gotta wait for half an hour, even longer, to pick up a customer during the COVID-19, the pandemic. Yeah, I think the same is everywhere.
Yeah, it's been tough, and I know it's been you feel that on the roads. It's and it certainly shows up in our numbers that our business is way down as people, you know, when cities stop moving, people you know, stop taking Ubers. The good news is in places where we are seeing recover, you know, places like Australia, New Zealand, where they have less COVID, we have seen the business come back really quickly. And interestingly, there seems to be a lot of pent-up demand for social use cases, going out for dinner, these types of things. As you might expect, I think we're all probably looking forward to those types of things too. I know I am. So it will come back as the world gets to a safer place and things open up, but I know it's really challenging. Sorry, G, I think, were you trying to say something? I want to make sure you can get in.
Well, we miss promotions for sure in Vancouver. Also the rain, I think, our best friend. In Vancouver, people do not want to walk. So I make sure that I drive when it rains. And in Vancouver, we didn't feel too much restrictions as Toronto or Montreal experienced. I must say we have tourists in our Vancouver. I mean, from Toronto, Montreal, lots of tourists in Vancouver, domestic tourists. Also the essential workers, the hospital workers, grocery workers that I was helping for them to move. I started with Uber Eats in 2018. That was my plan B between my tours and my winter job. But then I switched to Uber Drive, and I never went back to Uber Eats because I like dealing with people, as you can tell. And also I'm a life coach too. So I like the human being energy in the car. So that's my summary. And I did, I'm not sure if you will ask what is our daily challenges. Are we going to come back to that? So I'm going to stop talking now.
We will, but why don't you share? And then
I put some notes here, very quick notes. So sometimes riders are changing the address after we start. So they say, okay, I changed my mind. And the new address is shorter sometimes than the original, and the price is reduced. So may I suggest in those cases, at least the price should be the same as the original one, you know? Because we don't expect. And one thing, I believe Uber has a corporate customers like the car dealers. They hire for their customers and they never tip, because no matter what, the customers are having good time with us. They feel safe. There were awesome shuttle service from us, but they never tip. So I suggest maybe up for corporate customers, maybe upfront tips could help.
It's a great idea.
The Uber map, I would love to see which side of the road the rider is, on the south side of the north side, so we can approach. Otherwise, we keep looping to
Yep.
when we locate, then we have anyway. So that's one challenge. Vancouver drivers, very few of us have the beacon, the light. I wonder when the other drivers will get it. I have it, but I have a concern with my fellow drivers in Vancouver, especially nighttime. Really, because the riders are seeing, some of us has beacon, some of us not. So for Uber, it's good to have all of us have that. Last question. I wonder about Uber's future. How does it look like? Are we expecting vehicles with no drivers soon? So we can prepare our next plan B, plan C accordingly.
Well, maybe that's a good segue to the next topic I want to chat about a little bit. So on the drivers with driverless cars, I think we are pretty far away from those types of advancements. And I think early on, even once they're here, it will be very limited in use. I mean, I have a hard time picturing a computer navigating the streets of Toronto right now with 3 feet of snow. So I'm not thinking that that's anything. I think, technology is going to continue to advance and will adapt, and I think there'll be lots of opportunities also created by technology, but it's certainly not something that I think is imminent. But one thing I wanted to talk to this group about was, as you may know, and I think hopefully you had a chance to participate, we did survey all of our drivers and delivery people in Canada, asking about the experience, and we got a lot of great feedback through that. One of the things that came up time and again, and I heard it in a number of your stories or opening backgrounds comments, was that flexibility and independence are two of the things that really make the experience on the Uber platform work for you, work for your lives, work around all the other things that you spend your time on. And that's something true we see all over the world. So I wasn't surprised to see that, but it was, close to 3/4 of Canadian drivers and delivery people said that flexibility and independence were right at the top of their list as far as the experience goes. I'd love to hear a little bit, and maybe Binyan or Pete could jump in here about how flexibility plays a role in how you use the platform.
You want me to go first? I'll go first.
Sure.
Okay. The flexibility, I think that's what got me into Uber in the first place. The flexibility of being able to work whenever you want, and pretty much make as much as you want. So I have 2 daughters, so at any given moment they could call me, and with the flexibility of Uber, I press up a button, I can attend to them, which was, as a single dad, that's just fantastic power back into your hands. And there's no stress, there's no one technically looking over. Well, technically Uber's always looking over your shoulder to make sure you're safe and the system's working right, I get that. But there's no one that you need to basically answer to. Your total flexibility of your time. So you can plan your day, you can plan your week, and that is huge. I think the inventors of Uber and all the executives, I don't know if they all realize that Uber, the platform itself, has mastered how to give people their time back. Whether it be drivers, whether it be customers, whether it be businesses, the security of knowing that your parcel or your vehicle's coming to you is a sense of release, of not being stressed out or worry. So Uber has done some amazing de-stressors in the background for a lot of customers and especially for me. So that's kind of like my take on the whole flexibility aspect of it. There was something else you wanted to ask?
Well, I think that's first of all, thank you. And the comments really resonate with me. And I saw a number of folks on the call nodding along as well. And that the observation about, giving time back, it's one of the things we talk a lot about, that sort of is magic. And if you can create time for folks and work on, be available to work when you need it, that's really powerful. So thank you, Pete. We'll have I have other topics I want to dig into, but Binyam, I wonder if you wanted to comment on flexibility at all.
Sure. I think I got screwed over by Uber because this is the first time I've ever had this kind of control over my schedule. So like Pete, I do agree that I value my time that much, and it gives me control to be able to order my priorities really well. So I've really appreciated that. If I ever have to go find another job, that's why I say I got screwed over by Uber, because I kind of like this deal here much better. And it's given me almost a taste of what could be if I'm working for myself, how I can value my own skill sets and how I can manage my own time going in the future. That's where I'm just loath to think about ever going back to work on a schedule for someone else. So thanks a lot, Andrew. Thanks a lot.
Well, it's an interesting point you raised, which is how does it compare to more traditional forms of work? I think it's something some of you or all of you may have followed. Is one of the things we're working on globally and in Canada as well, is how do we sort of evolve the work such that we're able to provide all the benefits that you're describing in terms of flexibility and independence and ability to work on multiple different platforms if you choose, to work when and where you want, to optimize your own time, to maximize your earnings, all these things that I think we've heard today, and I've heard in other discussions with drivers and delivery people, but while also trying to move to a place where we're able to provide some of the benefits of traditional work. Maybe that's contributions to savings plans, or the ability to put money aside to take vacations, or to save for medical expenses or education if you choose, or retirement savings. And I think one of the conversations we're starting to have with the provincial governments in Canada is, how do we protect and lock in the flexibility and power that I'm hearing many of you describe, while also providing those things, right? And making that the standard for flexible work. And so that's one of the things I wanted to chat a little bit with you all about, is how would you, because traditional employment has trade-offs, right? Most jobs, you can't show up when you choose, do what you choose not to do it. Most jobs it's just more rigid. And I think that what I'm hearing is the value of flexibility we want to protect, but I also think that we feel a responsibility to try to add other benefits that, like the ones I just described, to work in Canada. So any reactions to those types of ideas, or what things would you value as we talk to governments?
I think it'll work, because that's one of my concerns in regards to being able to be paying into your pension, putting money aside, because as amazing as Uber is in regards to the flexibility of your time and making your money, budgeting is on a different level, because we still have to maintain our vehicles, make sure that they're clean, they're gassed up, and if anything needs to be fixed, et cetera, et cetera. So for me, I'm not speaking for everyone else, but I don't know if everyone else feels the same way. But for me, it's when you make it, then it's like, okay, do I have any car expenses? So it's like automatically I know that my vehicle needs to be on the road, so I have to keep my vehicle in functioning form. So you're making, but at the same time, it's going right back out, and you're not seeing anything else going into a savings, so to speak. For myself, I'm speaking. And I believe definitely the direction that Uber is going in regards to thinking of plans and medical, et cetera, it can work. How it will work, as I can see with the drivers still having their flexibility, is saying, okay, here's what. You have to put in, for example, you have to do 30 hours a week. It's to your discretion. And on that platform, I don't see why it wouldn't be able to work. Am I wrong? Does anybody else have anything else to put in?
I'd
And
like
just
to add, if you don't mind, I'd like to add something. I'd like to add what Laurel said. Like I said, I work at the casino. The food industry is very variable. That's why I found the transition into Uber easy. Without going too much into what the casino is, let's say you have a varied amount of hours. It's hard to have it's a 40-hour week, 9 to 5 type of thing. So what I think this idea of having benefits while keeping the flexibility would be a good thing.
I think that's really great feedback, and thank you. And same feedback on the flexibility in the program. I did want to clarify one thing for the group, which is, the proposal we're thinking of would be a self-directed program. So you'd accrue benefits based on the time you choose to work on the platform, maintaining that flexibility, and then you could spend those benefits on your individual needs, whether that's saving for paid times off, for leisure, vacation, or sickness, or caring for family, medical, vision, dental plans, tuition or education expenses, retirement savings. We have many different stories and backgrounds and priorities for individuals, and our goal would be to be as flexible and self-directed as possible. Just you'd accrue based on the work you're doing on the platform. So did want to clarify that, and also wanted to hear from others on that idea, how they would feel about that, if we could do something like that, and then also protect flexibility, how that would work.
I think for me, the protecting flexibility right now is key, but also the benefits are sort of key. As I mentioned, I work in the charitable sector, so I make a reasonably good living, but I couldn't survive without my Uber income. Uber enabled me to get a house, and it really gave me the ability to go from surviving to actually doing things that would help me to be stable and feel some sort of security. And so I understand the concerns of those individuals. If that is your sole source of income and you're depending on that to pay the bills and buy your food, you need some security to know that you're going to be able to pay those bills and buy your food. And at the same time, save for retirement, have medical care, critical illness, life insurance, like those basic things that provide us and our family members some degree of security, God forbid, should something go wrong. And I like the fact that we could go in and pick and choose. I know for us, especially with my spouse, we would definitely want the ability to have some kind of life insurance. I mean, we're lucky, but I know when you're out on the road these days, we pass by a lot of terrible car accidents out there, and you don't want to think that if somebody were hurt while driving for Uber or something else in their job, regardless of where they work, that there wouldn't be adequate benefit to support them as they recover and need to get back to full health.
That's great feedback, Laurie. Thank you. Anyone else have thoughts on the idea? Pete?
Yeah, I think it'll be a great idea. I think, and I think it's the right time too. The government's trying to look at Uber as becoming an essential service. I mean, they deemed us right now currently as that. So I would like Uber to take a look at how the TTC does their benefit packages, and also talk to some of the insurance companies of how because they have packages set aside for entrepreneur depending on how much money they make throughout the year. So that might be, there might be a formula there. But I like the idea, like, what you work and what you work, you pay into. If you don't work a lot, you pay into whatever you can. And if you work a lot, you can pay in more. So maybe if maybe they can work out some kind of formula that averages out what you make per hour and how much that can be put aside to accumulate into an account for your benefits, for your dental, for your maybe another account for vacation pay that you can set aside. You know, it might be small, but as the months continue, it grows, right? So yeah, there's lots of opportunities right now, and I think it's going to be really attractive to the government to see that, hey, this is what we want to do for the folks that have stuck it out through this pandemic, helping our nurses get to work and get home from work, or even some paramedics, they're not taking their you know, because their vehicle's already at the station, so they will take an Uber there. So there's lots of advantages that Uber's contributing that the government will look favorably upon. So I'm excited. This is a really exciting time for Uber to see that. But I think benefits will really start to help and really put us on the map as far as being attracted to some of the banks as well. Seeing that while we're basically the glue that's keeping this society and this city together, which I think is a very powerful way to look at it. So yeah, I think it's good. I think it's a good move.
Yeah, thanks for the feedback, Pete. We definitely think it's the right time, and you know, we think, frankly, we have a responsibility to, again, continue to evolve and make the experience better and protect the things that I heard that you love about it, but also, I think, improve the things that maybe aren't working so well today. So
can I also jump in, just because while we've talked about vacation here, it would also be nice if we could bank some of our Uber Pro points, because when you have to take time off for something and then you lose your gold status. So
Yep.
if I have a month where I'm really working a lot, if I could take 10% of my points or something and throw them into a bank, and then when I take my vacation time, I don't end up losing my status because I'm gone for 2 weeks, that would be very nice.
I think that's a great idea. I know we have some, you know, time shifting and stuff like that with Pro, but I'll this afternoon follow up with the individual who leads that program and pass that feedback along. I think it's great feedback.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, if I might add, in regards to our status, because once again, because of the curfew in our city and the pandemic, I'm not out on the road as I used to be, and my status is declining very quickly. I've gone from diamond to platinum. I'm not fussing, but I understand where Lori's coming from. So if they can figure out some way, yes, I did notice during the pandemic, they did throw us points to try and keep us at bay. But at the same time, we're not out on the road. So it's just shaving off the points that we have in regards to the status of our driving. And if I can take it to another topic while it's on my thoughts, would you mind if I interject on something else?
Sure. You know, we've just got a couple minutes left here,
Okay.
and I did want to hear if anyone else had thoughts on how we sort of evolve.
Connection. Can we promote connection? People get into my car and they have no idea what connection is. So if we can send out, let them know, because this is a time for connection. Connecting people, as I explained, you can drop a package from one to another, and
Yep.
my rides are like, we can do that? And I'm like, yes. So if you guys can get some promotion on connection, this would be the time.
We're working on it. We did some promotions around Valentine's Day, and we saw big increases there. But it's good feedback. We'll continue to do that. I know we need to do more. I'm advocating too. G, I think you did you have something you wanted to add?
Yes. Just a previous topic. I just wanna put my comments. I never imagined myself as a taxi driver. The showing up with the scheduled time doesn't work for me. So flexibility is must. When my tours are on, so I choose to be on the road with my group, not doing Uber. And Uber is my part-time, flexible. Whenever I need to work, then I need to work. I worked for banks for 24 years, so I know what the 9 to 5 job is. when I became tour guide, I learned how to self-govern, like extended health insurance I have. I can contribute to my Canadian pension plan. That's my choice I can do. If Uber benefits means less income for us, I'm not interested in. I mean, the Uber benefits should be extra. Then I'm interested in, but not the scheduled working conditions. The last thing, Uber income at this moment is not eligible income for the car loans. So if someone doing full-time Uber and having income, having difficulty to get, if their rating is not also high, having difficulty to get car loan from the mainstream banks. So I'm wondering if at provincial level, any government guaranteed or Uber guaranteed, I don't know. There should be some program for us to upgrade our car. So I think that's we need most in that. Yeah, that's my comments. Thank you.
That's great feedback, G. And the intent is not to limit flexibility at all with the benefits we'd like to add, and also that they would be incremental to your earnings as they stand. So that's our goal, and our goal is to work with governments to roll out rules for all platforms like this that protect those things. So did want to clarify that. We're just about out of time. Dave, I'm not sure if you had something you wanted to add, or?
Yeah, I was thinking about the benefit. I think maybe if let's say you guys roll the benefit, you can make a choice. Whoever want to accept the benefit, join the benefit. If the people doesn't want to do that, can also, don't have to do the benefit. I don't know if that works with what you guys doing.
I think it's a good idea in terms of always providing as much choice as possible, which is what we want to be able to do. So that's usually one of our principles in terms of.
For me, I have life insurance as well, and retirement plans already planned. So I was thinking, I don't know, some people might not need it, some people might need it. So
yeah, our goal would be to make the benefits as flexible as possible. So even if it was, directing towards expenses you already have that maybe aren't covered, or these types of things. So it's good feedback, Dave, and flexibility will definitely be a really key part of anything we do.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I just want to say thank you so much to all of you. I think we're just about at the hour here. Really great to meet this group. Thank you for keeping our cities moving. I really do think that all of you should take a lot of pride in the work you're doing as really essential workers. And thanks for spending time with me today. Thank you so much for telling me a little bit about your families or your personal situations. It is a very hard time for the world right now, and I know we all feel a bit of loneliness and disconnect from our fellow Canadians, fellow humans. So it for me, it's kind of made my day to get to spend the last hour with you. So thank you so much.
Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you.
Thank you. Same here. Thank you all. And it was nice meeting everyone. Hopefully we can do this again.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, I would love to do this again.